I know what you're thinking. One game of Civ 6 takes about 5 hours, but with the power of Columbia's finest running through my veins and the schizophrenic visions by my side, I typically finish in about 2.5. And today I will be further slashing that number by completing each victory type in less than 1 hour with a twist. I can't choose the strongest Civ for each victory type or cheese the game in a way that would violate our PAB behavior laws. What makes this challenge particularly difficult is that Civ 6 is a strategy game requiring intensive thought and meticulous planning of your every move. And at the risk of carpal tunnel so severe a trip to Chicago would rebrand me as the Swiss lifer, we are throwing all of that out the window, leaving me with nothing but instincts sharp enough to perform circumcision to rely on. The rules for this challenge are simple: no broken civs, and if I spend 2 hours in a Diplo game, I better lock in with a lethal dose of crack and whatever I can find in Hunter Biden's jacket for the next game, as all 5 victory types must be completed in 5 hours or less. How long will it take me to win? What do I do when my only neighbor cuts off my last-ditch rock bands? And will I be able to survive the Mayan super stacking tourism? I'll smash that like button like you were a conservative politician at a gay orgy and sit back and relax as we enjoy my forgoing of the typical testicular torsion in favor of frying my median nerve together. But which victory type do we start with? Well, we don't want to waste our time, so it would be best to begin with the most challenging, one that requires heavy micromanaging, takes the longest, and is routinely used as a method to extract information from terrorists. Diplo? Science? No, we are starting with a culture victory. And as for our chosen civ, we select none other than the evil German villain, who can be shown in German media. What looks to be a homosexual Disney villain possessing 4 elite abilities will each be pivotal to our strategy today. But before we can worry about that, we aren't going to focus on culture, we aren't going to focus on faith, and we aren't going to focus on science. There's only one thing that matters: settling as many cities as humanly possible. Why? Well, because the more cities we have, the more wonders we can build, and more importantly, we obtain more great work slots. And to do that, there is one yield we will need above all: faith. But while we wait for our people to learn that comets aren't in fact a sign from God to sacrifice the adult male population of the village whose chief called your bumhole stinky, we have to solve the perpetual issue that's preventing us from settling cities in the first place. Like the village bicycle, before we can expand, we first need to prowl and explore our options. And there is a problem. The warrior is too slow, and I will voluntarily sodomize myself with a chainsaw before building a scout. The answer we seek is city-states, and we have quite the number. After a few early envoys, we send in our top Somali solicitor to get to work. I was a college woman with an absent paternal relationship, and the city-states were the school's football team. And after running the gauntlet, we could now plot out our future Lebensraum. And in our way is our first and strongest enemy, Lady Thick Thighs. Her substantial girth possesses a unique problem for our people, standing in the way of our victory. This genetic anomaly that is able to pack on enough calories to turn her hibernation to cryosleep will be a main character in my suicide note when it's all said and done. But with all our possible cities mapped out, we still have a glaring problem. Early cities suck harder than a crackhead 3 minutes away from cyberpsychosis, so how do we build them to be self-sustainable in time for stage 2? We would need maybe an extra 5 food and 3 production to get these cities up to snuff in time, but how are we going to do that? The answer comes to us in what is either a dream or crack-induced hallucination, as we start believing in the city patron goddess for a production boost to the key district we need: commercial hubs. But it will take a while until our first test run in Berlin, since we don't rush commercial hubs, we rushed astrology. But why go for a holy site, I hear you ask? Well, for 4 pivotal reasons. The most important of which is not necessarily religious in nature, since, as you know, the most popular artists historically have been pious souls who steer the youth away from drugs, alcohol, and overpriced t-shirts made by slave labor in Southeast Asia. These rock bands, as they're called, will prove critical for this game. But we have more pressing matters thanks to our growing empire, as our current chiefdom is incapable of ruling effectively, and thus the German Republic was born.
I've drone-struck more children. No one has ever struck down more children than me.
Are you forgetting about Benghazi, Donald?
But would an autocracy prove superior? Well, not when the extra housing and amenities will prove more valuable in the long run, thanks to the second major reason we went for holy sites: monumentality. And with a classical era normal age, we can reach this pivotal bonus quickly with pen, brush, and voice. A dedication that would prove a critical mistake in but a few minutes. Unlike us, not only are the Mayans in a golden age, but so is another peer competitor, Mansa Musa. I'm beginning to feel left out of this heart attack grill pre-game. Since you can't go through a game without allies, I need to break the emergency glass and put my top Jamaican on the case. The declaration of friendship she offered soon after proved my mastery at delegation. And so, about 9 minutes in, we have the bases of our empire, a plan to victory, and are now safe to sim the rest of this game. This should be a breeze. The removal of a Western threat left me free to show the third major reason we acquired holy sites. For a religion. But what will religion do for us? Well, culture victories early on don't actually require culture or tourism. They require massive production and food to build later wonders and districts. And thus, through our two key beliefs of work ethic and gurdwaras, we unlock our birth rate and successfully repeal all labor regulations. A term Victorian England is most familiar with. What do you mean there's no monumentality? This is bad. The tea has indeed gone cold, and why is what I'm left wondering. After a complete failure in achieving our first goal, we're left scrambling as our peer rivals take this opportunity to push ahead of us. And with what looks to be a member of North Sentinel Island if the US started launching Twinkies and air raid operations, and someone who would cost no less than 8 elixir in Clash Royale mobilizing their Tritartpi Pact, coupled with the clock still ticking, we need to improvise our plan and fast. But there is still hope. With the monumentality still available in the next stage, we might as well move our next stage's objectives to right now. And everything falls into place as I realize what I need to do now is exactly what will guarantee a golden age. And that can only be done through the monumentality normal age dedication, ironically enough. And that is to spam produce all our districts. But which districts do I build? Holy sites, theater squares, campuses to get computers faster? Well, the answer is simple, and I realize it's finally time to make use of the first of our, as of now, absentee leader's abilities. And I know just the way to kick him into gear. Give me an out and I'll organize a weekly gay orgy. We're nearing the era where outproducing everyone like the Mayans for wonders is critical, and we use the first of our German abilities, the Hansas, a unique industrial zone with incredibly powerful adjacencies. How powerful? Well, coupled with Ludwig's second ability, we can put these Hansas near commercial hubs in every city, no matter the population, for an easy +10 production with the industrial zone policy card. And as I meet Gitarja, my faith in her milkers reminds me of the fourth reason we are spam producing faith in this game. The Void Singer's first promotion only gives you about 4 faith per city. It's pretty good, but it's the chorus's ability to translate faith to every other yield in the game that sky-rolly shit. Clean up an aisle, my pants! But the gold buff seems to have been a waste, as after selling camels to the local Bedouins to fulfill what they describe as carnal desires, Molly's immediately interested in setting up an embassy. Okay. But all of our new cities will not in fact start off by producing holy sites. The first district they construct is the commercial hub, not only to increase our gold reserves to buy builders, settlers, and buildings, but to obtain traders. And with the strength of our central capital, they obtain all the resources they need to grow to 4 population for the third district extremely fast. During this time, they will spend their production building more production with the 50% cheaper than normal industrial zone that'll be at least +5. And after obtaining a large boost in productivity due to population, districts, and the occasional builder, it's time for the piece de resistance, the holy site. You not only increase the amount of faith available to the empire, but you also increase the industrial zone adjacencies and increase production from work ethic. But more importantly, we obtain another district to increase the rate of Ludwig's leader ability, the key to winning this game. We'll get into that in the next chapter, but for now we can confidently say we successfully came back from the potential disaster we had from missing the golden age. With every city now strong enough to work on its own, we can continue with our strategy to outproduce the opposition. And while I view Ludwig's proclivities as a waste of resources, well, he's German. It's either that or we find ourselves at war with the Mayans, Mali, England, and both the Sith and Rebel alliances with Spec Ops support from Gandalf and the crew. And like our current arrangements, the only filler in that anime arc would be their come in his What the hell is wrong with me? But while we have caught up to other leaders, there is one out there who has had nothing short of a perfect game, and will no doubt be our biggest challenge when she finally escapes her cryo sleep. But the way we overcome that is with our trump card, Ludwig's leader ability. Every wonder produces 2 culture and most importantly tourism for every adjacent district. And like a choir boy at a Catholic church, it's time to abuse that ability. And so we get started on the Oracle and Apadana immediately, but this wonder whoring leaves us vulnerable to attack from any well-disciplined army with nothing but a wall of slings and giant sticks in between them and my anus. To stop that inevitable destruction from occurring, we make love and not war, joining the Michelin Marvel streamer group. And Victoria also went, yeah, you know, taxing tea is pretty uncool, leaving us now safe from any external threats unless Gitarja wants to suffocate me with her breast. Wait, no, come back, my army's still weak.
Boy crumpets tea, pissing in a bloody wanker.
You kidding me? Look who I'm playing! Being on the receiving end of a bukkake ball with socks off is less gay. Hold on, what's that ruckus? The protesters don't like that the state budget is being spent on gay orgies. They've taken the Shah hostage. The Ayatollahs are in charge. Ludwig, run! Hezbollah. Crease his Jordans. Brother, I stabbed a woman who wasn't wearing a hijab. And with that turn of events, we are now a theocracy. But as the Ayatollahs begin purging everyone else, let me remind you to subscribe to not miss out on the other 2 videos in this 3-part series. But without that wonder to my narcissism, we are ill-prepared for the incoming era as the golden age is still far off. We'll need all hands on deck for this. The great merchant we obtained is huge, but still not enough, even with the Apadana completing. And with 3 turns left, we are close, and so what could possibly push us over the edge? Well, how about settling Go Bust In, which is just enough to enter a golden age of legal slavery and free settlers to inflate our culture score. But our primary issue is the tourism score, or lack thereof. However, in our darkest hours comes India's finest tech supporter, who is about to change everything. The last Pingala promotion doubles tourism in a certain city, and through that the number is beginning to rise slowly at first, before exploding all at once. And after meeting Genghis's retarded cousin, we can confidently say that we have caught up to and surpassed every leader. Aside from one. Lady Thickthigh seems to have mobilized the entire obese population of America, and with her army consuming the caloric equivalent of a suicide note every day, she is far ahead of us in the tourism department. So how do I close the gap? The first step is to reduce her culture numbers, and to do that, I need to trade for her great works. You would think the AI would be mindful of this hack strategy where I trade all my gold and I get all their great works in exchange. Well, they're not. And through a combination of threatening to release her pictures with Epstein, we are able to go British Museum on them, reducing their culture and allowing us a chance to catch up. And as the last vestiges of monumentality slip away, we succeed in laboring our Shram, but that isn't the end of our Golden Age adventures. And as we debate on which dedication we choose now, there is a cloud hanging over our heads. With much less culture, how do we ensure we get all the culture wonders before the Mayans? Well, part of that answer is the dedication heartbeat of Steam, and the second is mobilizing our industry through central planning at the cost of consumer goods and standards of living. For Allah, of course. The collectivization of our economy is great for production, sure, but the science boost ensures we get flight the next turn for more tourism. And with the near guarantee of Christo, Hermitage, Bolshoi, and our southern cities picking up steam, we are finally able to overtake the Mayans. But being in the lead doesn't mean we've won yet. But we have come far from the start, and at this pace we should easily be able to win in 1.5 hours as long as we stay on track. A sensational number for what is, in my opinion, the hardest victory type in this game, in regards to time, I guess. And with the suspicious death of our supreme leader due to overthrowing the bored Y Jesus or whatever, we go full steam ahead as I now lead the communist revolution, which will be pivotal to our next step. And after making the most of our wonder ability, that step is our ace in the hole that will close the gap between us and the Mayans. The Yuba. Yeah, I'm just kidding, it's Cold War. But how does uniting the workers of the world against capitalistic goods and services serve us? through the Rock Band. But with 234 tourism, it would be a waste, especially when there is one policy card that will increase the efficiency of these units 100-fold. And with the Mayans at 400 tourists already, we'll need to go back to our college days and squeeze out every drop from those bands, as surely 400 is as bad as it gets, right? But before rock bands, we first have to maximize our tourism score, meaning the last two key techs need to be obtained. The first is radio communications, not to make our army of slingers and cavemen more effective tactically, but to spread our propaganda far and wide through bangers from MC Mozart himself. And with the internet, we boost our tourism up to 500, and that is nothing compared to when we start recycling, somehow getting up to 600 per turn, turning my grapes into raisins in record time. And with us catching up in tourism, we are now neck in neck with the other leaders gunning for space. It's gonna be a race to the finish, but we have something they don't. Our trump card, the Rock Band. With distributed sovereignty, our Union of Soviet Socialist Republics collapses after a, as of recording, communist record 34 minutes, and more importantly gives us the slots to post all of our tourism boosting policy. Hold on, why are you back home? Lady Six Guy said she'd get out or she'll have us like this. This is bad. The AI, despite usually playing like their family tree forked as hard as the Ptolemies, has finally grown a brain. We still have a pathway to victory. Technically. While England is still there, it's a 10-turn journey to her closest district, and so the odds of us pulling for a super rocker are drastically reduced. That was at least until turn 220, where something happened that ruined our game. Hey, the turns are taking kinda long, aren't they? From turn 220 to the end, our turns were taking 15 seconds to load in. We need to end this quick, or else the time wasted is gonna drain us of pivotal time. But despite 1,000 tourism and a rocker after rocker, they kept failing harder than Nickelodeon singers' careers, not you. And with that, we kept falling further and further behind our goals. But just as it looked like we would fall too far behind to win at a reasonable time, there was one last policy card that could save our game. The Rock Band policy. You see, before, we were choosing from a pool of promotions that are at best lackluster. But now with this policy card, we can choose from every promotion, and most importantly, the two goated promotions. With the mass quantity of campuses and wonders on England's phallic-shaped continent, space rock and album cover art will prove pivotal. And through obtaining both, our rockers are left at just a 9% chance to fizzle out and spend the twilight of their lives drowning in a toxic amount of alcohol at the age of 24. And with that one change, our rock bands perform significantly better. And while we don't have him yet, the chance of a super rocker, the one destined to obtain 20,000 tourism per concert, is now significantly higher. And we will need him to help us eclipse our last hurdle known as Lady Thick. Is it just me, or is she increasing her lead? With England's rugged terrain, even with our promotions, we can only do so much in our 10-turn wait as the Mayans go from 599 to 605 to 619 to 634. But what about our rock bands with 2 free promotions? What's happening to them? Look, all you have to do is not engage in immoral sexual activity. Oh no. He didn't place some minor on a chair and pee, did he? But just as all hope seems lost, in comes a hero. Not a hero we deserve, but one we needed. Audio Kale. And it was now time for Lady Thick Thigh's Stinky Coochie to get pegged by the cruciferous god. An international star so popular, it's only a matter of time until he disrespects the age of consent or beats his pregnant wife. We need to finish this now. But the Mayans aren't making things easy in the slightest with the largest domestic tourism score I've ever seen in this game. And with each turn taking ages, we are struggling. So how do we end this? Well, every Batman needs his Robin, every Mario his Luigi, every Hitler his Himmler, and the Loyal Hearts was him. Lur in this situation. A supporting actor to audio Kale, but could more than hold his own as this dynamic duo got multiple 20k performances. And with just 40 tourists separating us from victory, all we have to do is push that last little bit. And after loading in for about 30 seconds, it finally happens. The Loyal Hearts drops the Heart Part 6 and perishes down a spiral of irrelevancy and crypto scamming their few remaining fans. But their last performance would not go unnoticed, as on turn 266, we have achieved our victory. In 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 43 seconds, which, seems long, but by removing the dead time at the end of every turn, we can move it back to 10 minutes. Still far above our expected time, but this challenge is still definitely doable. And while this challenge was tough, it was nothing compared to trying to conquer the largest possible Earth map and every civ in the game in this video right here.